Are high schools in the USA anything like in the movies? What do they get right wrong? Cliques generally get along with each other pretty well, and some are even good friends. It's pretty uncommon for someone to look like they're in their late 20s. One thing they absolutely do get right though is the craze with sports. My school cared more about sports than anything. With larger high schools, 500 plus students grade, there isn't really the social hierarchy presented in most films. There's just too many kids for everyone to know each other like that. There aren't the cool kids and the losers. There's just different groups. The football players, the anime nerds, the class government kids, etc. There's no pecking order or anything. Most people just sort of keep to their groups. At my high school prom, the prom king, while I've been attributing class to class size and queen, a lot of commenters are saying they had the same experience, had literally never met before, so it might just be Hollywood making the other was. Or maybe things have changed since our parents' generation. Working in a high school in NJ, many students do have nicer cars than the employees. Also, some stoners happen to be really good athletes. Just the way the cookie crumbles. Superbad was closer to my experience than probably any other high school movie. My friends and I spent most of our time trying to be cool and extremely failing. Not popular but just kinda getting along with most people, and somehow still having a lot of fun. I can't speak for all schools but at my school things that are different from movies. The popular kids were all relatively nice. You didn't become popular by making fun of the nerds or whatever other stereotype gets picked on in movies. The football players and cheerleaders were by and large not dumb jocks or complete ditzy airheads. They weren't necessarily all top honors student material, but the majority of them did fairly well. We had almost no lockers. You had to pay if you wanted one and they were tiny. Not something you can get pushed inside and locked up in. Cliques weren't really a thing. You hung out with people you enjoyed hanging out with regardless of interests. Some things that were somewhat accurate. Prom and homecoming was a really big deal to a lot of people. Girls in particular would make plans for this month in advance. Sports were likewise a big deal. Especially football. You generally did have to be attractive to be really popular. Playing on the football team helped as well. Lots of silly relationship drama. Though maybe not quite as much as is shown in movies. Depends where you live. If you're in a rich part of Houston, those crazy pool parties are a laugh. People all over drinks, music, drugs etc. All of it. On the other hand, if you're in SE Kentucky, you meet by a creek or on a big hill, have a bonfire shooting guns drinking, fake pool in the pickup truck, whole shebang. Lots of red Solo cups everywhere. Edit. Haha, I read this as a high school parties in the USA like the movies, my bad. Surprised nobody is mentioning how little freedom there is in school. You barely have enough time to get from one class to the other side of the building during class breaks. You can't wander around the halls until after all your classes, 3 to 3:30 p.m. TV shows make it seem like everyone has a lot of freedom to do what they want during class hours. You have to have a hall pass. In colder climates, you cannot go outdoors unless there's a teacher allowing it. There's a lot less division of class. Like, the nerds aren't so drastically separate from the jocks. All of those types of kids, the jocks, nerds, preps, emos, druggies, whatever, all intermingled and got along fairly well. Some people had enemies, and fights broke out, but there were no active rivalries. Lots of the stereotypes in the movie have reasons that they exist, of course, but they are a lot less pronounced in actual schools. My high school experience was nothing like a movie. I was friends with football players, nerds, upperclassmen, whatever. I was a skater, varsity soccer player, lunchtime Magic the Gathering player. So maybe my experience was unique because I was floating around so many different groups. It all depends on what state you went to high school. For example, I went to a school in Los Angeles. We had kickbacks. Smoked tons of pot and did shots from some hot chick's little brother in 7th grade who stole their mother's cheap 711 vodka bottle to come seem cool with us. I believe most movies based on high school culture are formed around what it was like growing up in Los Angeles. Especially the San Fernando Valley.